Of the countless times I've arrived into Southampton Central Station from the east, I've always wondered of the origin and history of this red brick ruin on the north side of the railway. Here. Crossing the footbridge at the east side of the station gives the best overall view of the ruin. But what exactly are we looking at? The Emperia Building was constructed in 1896 by Idris & Co Limited, a manufacturer of mineral and soft drinks such as lemonade, ginger ale and soda water. Just prior to World War I, the building changed hands, and from 1913 it was owned by British American Tobacco, who occupied the site until 1921. After this, the final tenants, London and Southern Grocers, were in residence, right up until its destruction. But before we explore the ruins, let's take a closer look at this picture. Dated 1910, it clearly depicts the shoreline extending right up until the Emperia Building's south wall, something which we know is not the case today. So what exactly was going on here? So here is the modern overhead view of Southampton thanks to the National Library of Scotland. The Central Railway Station can be found here, while the nearby Emperia Building is located here. Now, if you look in the bottom left corner of the image, you can just make out a ship and the current and closest coastline to our site, a distance of just over half a mile. If I go back in time to the map of 1898, just 2 years after the Emperia Building's construction, the coastline is clearly that much closer. So when did all this change? Well, with the docks here becoming ever busier, it was understood that they would have to expand. This work began in 1927 to construct new docks where the land was reclaimed from the present quayside right up to the Emperia Building and Central Station. Southampton's Western Docks opened in 1935, forever altering the city's sky and coastline. When intact, this building stood 4 stories high and was visible from all around. Today, there's just the remnants of the first level and one corner which reaches up to the next. So one must ask the question as to why should the remains of a simple warehouse still exist, and what happened to render it into the state that we see today? To that we must go back to the dark days of September 1939. Britain and France have just declared war on Germany, the consequences of which made ports, airports and areas of industrial manufacture viable targets for attack. Initially, military installations were hit, but after losing the Battle of Britain, the Luftwaffe changed its tactics, and from the 7th of September 1940, Britain's cities began to be hit. Southampton being an important port, a manufacturer of arms and industry, including the Supermarine aircraft factory at Woolston, and not to mention a vital rail link and interchange, suffered over 50 separate bombing raids by the Luftwaffe between September 1940 and June 1942. On one of those horrific days in 1940, the air raid siren wailed, and terrified people desperately sought shelter where they could. Overhead, the German bombers arrived and began to drop their payload, this time falling around the Central Station and Bletchley Terrace area. For 44 years, the Emperia Building had stood proud upon this spot until... If estimated that close to 2,500 bombs struck Southampton during the Blitz, with the loss of over 45,000 buildings, the Emperia Building among them, while just over 630 people lost their lives, with a further 900 seriously injured. In 2018, Southampton City Council announced a rejuvenation of the area around the Emperia Building ruin, with the aim of transforming it into a memorial to the Blitz. Opened in 2019, the small Pleasant Park, along with a 4.9-metre arch which stands above the central pathway, represents the city's strength and resilience in the face of adversity. Now, looking at the building's interior now, and this is the north wall, and here are the remains of one of those distinctive pairs of large arched windows so prominent in the building's design. A photo from 1910 shows these windows on all 4 levels of the building. Here we see the south face, and I'm assuming that the north side was identical. Further along the north wall, and you can see another pair of those arched windows, with these ones almost fully intact. Now take a look at Bletchenden Terrace. That's a street directly behind, and the road's level is clearly raised. Is that the same level prior to World War II? The brickwork filling the windows indicates that it is probably not the case. By looking at this, you can see that the building, the perimeter at least, is complete almost. It wasn't that big a building. We've got the edge of the east wall, as it would have come across here. And if we look at the south wall, you can see the same, the east wall coming across. Taking a walk along Bletchenden Terrace, well, it shows just how little these windows remain above street level, and also pretty much confirms that prior to destruction the road was much lower down. An interesting feature just outside the former east wall is this commemoration window, depicting the view as would have been visible before the dock's land reclamation in the 1920s and 30s. Oh, I've no idea what that was used for. Well, this is the south wall's interior, and yet another pair of arched windows, again in good condition. The park's landscaping buries the lower courses, so where I'm standing would have more or less been the factory's floor level. To the right of there, a fragment of the arch is all that remains of these windows, a result of blast damage or clearance work after. Regardless, it was enough to leave the building a ruin. Now looking on the inside of this corner bit, you've got those girders that have been cut off there, but I wonder what that was for over there. There's so much that this building could probably tell. Look at the way this ivy snakes around the brickwork. What I really love about these old ruins, I mean, obviously the brickwork, the crumbling that you need to, has got a story to tell, but it's things like this, just a piece of metal sticking out. It had a function once, it's got a story to tell, and we'll probably never ever know. Another one there that was obviously holding a pipe, a small girder, another bit of metal there, pipe work there, a metal pipe here. We'll probably never know. Standing just outside the east wall, you can see the edge of it there, so it would have gone across like that. I've just found in the ground, so remember we're outside the building, a vertical girder there. So I'm wondering, was that another building? Have you got a large lump of concrete there? So what was that part of? We'll go back once more to the 1910 photo, and regarding the vertical girder sticking out of the ground, could that be part of this building here, next to the Emperia Building, as obviously the blast damage wasn't localised to just the one factory? So I've come into the car park side now, and look at this corner of the building. We looked at the inside corner, but look at the decoration on there. You got like a cornice there, and then that lovely design there. I wonder if that building had that sort of motif all the way along. Let's have a look at it from this side. Isn't that wonderful? And this bit here, so this was arches. A small piece of brickwork there. And here's those arches from the outside. You've got a nice piece of retaining wall here. And then here, you got some ironwork. You can see where that arch went across there. And then you got that cornice up there which would have matched that one over there. Fabulous.